Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the government of Israel and Palestinian National Authority. We're joined here by the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the current President of Palestinian National Authority, Mahmoud Abbas. I will be representing the United Nations Security Council in delivering the following report. The area of Israel has historically been a focal point of conflict. As early as 597 BCE, this region has seen the conflicts between two main ethnic groups, Jewish and Islam, or Israelis and Arabians. In the recent centuries, such conflicts present in the forms of multiple armed invasions and defensive warfare from both sides. On the Jewish side, the Zionism movement led Theodor Herzl had relied many marginalized Jewish groups into finding permanent homes and moving to the current state of Israel. This was met by resistance from the Iberian residents in the area. After World War I, the Britain government, represented by the Peel Commission, imposed a mandate petitioning in the area to create a national home for the Jews in Palestine and bring the Zionists and the Arabs together in a cooperative government. This decision eventually failed due to the disagreement between the Jewish and the Arab sides. Such artificial division made by European power clearly wasn't effective or realistic. However, after the World War II, more Jews immigrated into Palestine, reaching 600,000 by 1948. From then on, I regret to say that both the Jewish government and the Islamic government had often chosen to handle the issue with extreme methods, despite the UN's constant effort to mediate. For instance, the Arabs refused to recognize the State of Israel in November 1947. Please do understand that the UN proposed such state in order to divide Palestine into two states, Israel and Palestine, making Jerusalem world become an international city run by the UN and avoiding future conflicts. However, the Arab side chose to invade the state of Israel during the Arab-Israeli conflict of 1948 in direct opposition to the UN's decision. As a representative of the UN, I would have to blame the Arabs for defying the resolution of the General Assembly and engaging in a deliberate effort to alter the established boundary of settlement. At the end of war, because of the Jewish military effort, the Arabs would end up with less territory than they would have had if they accept partition. As for the next major event, the Suez Crisis of 1956, I would have to condemn the state of Israel's armed forces for pushing into Egypt towards the Suez Canal after Egypt president Gamal Abdel Nasser nationalized the canal. Nasser's decision was needed to be contested by the UN emergency force, not the state of Israel. With this being said, I will have to condemn the Arab side for organizing a new weapon in its war against Israel and initiating the 97 attacks against Jewish civilians, representative of the UN. Against Jewish civilians during the 6 Days War of 1967. This war was used to harass the Israelis and to undermine King Hassan's regime in Jordan. After the war, as representative of the UN, I'm pleased to say the signing of Israel-Egyptian Peace Treaty of 1979, which ended 3 decades of hostilities between Egypt and Israel and establishing diplomatic and commercial ties. At the same time, we need to beware of the extremist groups still trying to break up such peace treaty with acts of terrorism in the area, namely the Hamas group, which had published the Islamic Covenant, which makes clear the organization is opposed to Israel's existence in any form. Though Prime Minister Olmert ordered Operation Cast Lead in Gaza in December 2008 to defeat this group, such effort was not enough since Hamas had continued to kidnap and then terrify more Israelis in 2014. During the Gulf War period, though the ground campaign was over in 100 hours, little actual fighting took place and caused minimum damage to the Israel-Arab group relationship. However, the Palestinian National Authority began to emerge quickly afterwards. The UN cannot help but question if this will bring stability or more conflicts. Needless to say, both the Israel and the Arab sides are not blameless for the past conflicts, and the future conflicts should be avoided for the sake of the civilians in the region. In this sense, I, as the representative of the United Nations Security Council, would like to suggest the following solutions. Number 1. The PNA will continue to follow the terms of the Israeli-Egyptian Peace Treaty of 1979 and respect the boundaries of the current state of Israel. Number 2. Both sides will maintain their current boundary. The city of Jerusalem will belong to the state of Israel. Number 3. As the regions outside of the state of Israel, the PNA has the right to these territories. Number 4. Both the PNA and the state of Israel will be proactive in forming more economic relationships, such as free trade in the area. Both sides should consider lowering tariff on essential products to ensure the healthy economical growth in the region. Number 5. When territorial disputes arise, both sides will communicate with the UN first, instead of seeking foreign support. Number 6. As for the terrorism groups in the R, both sides should actively come up with plans to contain the terrorist efforts. Both sides can seek the assistance of the UN and its associate member countries. Number 7. Both sides should focus on lowering the poverty level and building social programs in the region, since decades of warfare has brought great strife upon the civilians. Number 8. Both sides should ask the UN for assistance when developing social programs. Number 9. Both sides should also minimize the current rate of weapon production of the current expense on military equipment in avoidance of a potential arms race. Number 10. Both sides should not develop or purchase any more nuclear weapons. Now, both sides please respond. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. As the leader in the state of Israel, I, Benjamin Netanyahu, agree with these terms above. We have tried to find a safe house for my fellow Jewish people for centuries, and the state of Israel and the support from the UN meant a lot to us. It is true that we have not actively pacified the past conflicts. But please note that in many cases, the state of Israel was in the position of defense. In this sense, I would be happy to accept these terms above as long as the PNA follow them as well. I will make sure to think of my people's lives and economy first, rather than fighting another costly war. Palestinian National Authority, Mahmoud Abbas. As a leader of the Palestinian National Authority, I, Mahmoud Abbas, would like to say that we respect the UN's decisions. However, please note that historically, Palestine had been home to my fellow Islamic people, and we were driven out because of the Jewish migrants. It is true that we initiated wars and targeted civilians, but please understand that these actions were made to reclaim our lost territories. As for now, my party and I bear no intention to start another territorial conflict unless more of our land is invaded by the Jewish side. I will agree to the economical and social terms from the UN solution because I, too, prioritize the need for my people. I will, however, make no promise in terms of weaponry because arms are essential to a country's security. I will promise not to initiate conflicts, but I will also not hesitate to defend the barbarian side if offenders struck. Though I appreciate the UN's assistance, knowing the low efficiency of the UN's force, I will still want to maintain the current size of my own military. The UN's recommendation. I would like that two parties are able to agree on most terms. Certainly, more conferences like this should be held each year to ensure the satisfaction of both sides. However, I noticed that neither side has commented on containing the terrorist activities in the region. They may seem like small-scale violence, but history has taught us that such activities can often lead to larger wars. We shall discuss more on this particular topic during our next three-way conference and discuss the possible involvement of US as well. Thank you.